Assalamu alaikum everyone. Good evening. Viewers, well wishers. लास्ट प्रीवियस वीडियो के अंदर हमारी 2 पार्ट्स हमने अपलोड किए थे यूट्यूब पे आप लोगों की इन्फॉर्मेशन के लिए, नॉलेज के लिए, रिसर्च बेस एक इन्फॉर्मेशन आप तक प्रोवाइड करने के लिए। और वो था एक मुतनाज़ा लफ्ज़ उस जो समझा जाता है, कहा जाता है जापानी मार्शल आर्ट के फॉलोअर्स की तरफ से और उनके अक़ीदतमंदों की तरफ से कि ये एक लफ्ज़ है और ये इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, इसका इस्तेमाल करने और ना करने से कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता। और दीगर ऐसे हमें अल्फाजों का सामना करना पड़ा जिससे हमें ये एहसास हुआ कि हम सुनी सुनाई बात पे यकीन करना हम बिलीव करते हैं। एनीवेज, एक लफ्ज़ है ओस जो कि जापान में बहुत तेज़ी से सर्कुलेट हुआ और जापान की जो 3-4 उनकी जो ऑफिशियल कराटे हैं उसमें उनको आम किया गया। 1930 तक, 25 तक, 35 तक, 40 तक इसका इस्तेमाल का इतना ज़्यादा रुझान नहीं देखा गया, लेकिन बहुत तेज़ी से 1950 से लेके 40 साल जहाँ जहाँ जिन मुल्कों में कराटे को आए हुए हो गया, बहुत तेज़ी से सर्कुलेट हुआ है ये लफ्ज़। और लोग इसको छोड़ना नहीं चाहते और कहते हैं कि हम इसे करेंगे। तो हमने अपने दोनों वीडियो के अंदर ये कहा कि जो करना चाहे, कहना चाहे, वो कह सकता है कि इस चीज़ पे गलत काता करना, गलत ट्रेनिंग करना से भी आपको कोई रोक नहीं सकता, क्योंकि वो आपकी मर्ज़ी होती है, आपकी बॉडी यूज़ होती है। ऐसे ही अगर एक ऐसा लफ्ज़ हो जो जापानी हुकूमत से लेकर जापानी आवाम तक उस तक कोई ना बोलता हो और आप उसको ये सोच के बोलते हो कि जापानी ज़बान है और ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है और ये बहुत ज़बरदस्त चीज़ है और इसका मतलब हाँ है, उसका मतलब यस है, उसका मतलब ओबे करना है, अपने टीचर की बात मानना है, कोई अज़म करके दिखाना है, तो ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है। इंटरनेट के ऊपर मैंने अपनी पिछली वीडियो में बता दिया कि इंटरनेट पर इसका मतलब जो बताया जाता है वो भी कुछ और है। तो आपकी सोच कुछ और है, आपका मतलब कुछ और है और आपकी जो वर्किंग है स्टाइल के अंदर वो कुछ और है। तो ये तीनों चीज़ें अभी सही मुतनाज़ा हैं। तो लिहाजा मेरी बात जो मैंने अपनी जनरेशन से कहने की कोशिश की, तो ऐसा हमारे लिए मुमकिन हो पाया कि अगर आपका अपना हीरा आपके लिए काम करेगा तो आप उस चीज़ को इग्नोर करेंगे, और अगर कोई खोटा सिक्का दूसरी ज़बान का बंदा बाहर का अगर कोई झूठ बोलेगा तो वो इंटरनेशनल ज़बान का झूठ होगा, उसे एक्सेप्ट कर लिया जाएगा। ये शायद हर मुल्क के अंदर ये होता ही है। तो मैं यहाँ पर आज अपनी बात से ज़्यादा एक अमेरिकन रिसर्चर हैं जो मार्शल आर्टिस्ट भी हैं, और मैं इंशाल्लाह उनकी वीडियो इसी दौरान मैं शेयर कर दूँगा। आप लोग उसको देखिएगा और इन्जॉय कीजिएगा, देखिएगा कि मेरी बात में और उनके अल्फाज में फ़र्क होगा, लेकिन मेरी जो टॉपिक है मेरा वो सेम क्या कहते हैं। और उसके बाद फिर इंशाल्लाह मैं एक जापानीज़ कराटे यानी मार्शल आर्ट एक्सपर्ट की भी वीडियो शेयर करूँगा। तो होप्स हो कि अपनी तमाम वीडियो में मुकम्मल तौर से मैंने जो इन्फॉर्मेशन दे दी थी उसके बावजूद ना माना गया, तो ये शायद आखिरी एक मेरी कोशिश होगी कि जब दूसरे मुल्क के लोग इस चीज़ को मानना और उस पर अक़ीदत और अपने यकीन और अपनी तालीम दिखाएंगे, तो शायद मेरी कौम के कुछ ऐसे लोग जिनको इस चीज़ का यकीन करना आसान नहीं है, वो शायद आसान नहीं उनको हो जाए। लिहाजा आप लोग की जो मेरे बैकग्राउंड पे आप वीडियो देखें, गौर से सुनिएगा, गौर से देखिएगा, और शायद मेरा होना यकीनन मेरा होना आप लोगों को मेरी कौम के लोगों को शायद पसंद ना हो, क्योंकि दूसरे मुल्कों का झूठ पसंद है, अपने कौम के इंसान का इल्म पसंद नहीं है। लिहाजा मैं इस वीडियो से गायब होता हूँ।
Hello, I'm Don Rowley, and welcome to the Colorado Springs Bunjinkan video podcast. Normally, I like to do things with the written word, but in this lesson about Japanese etiquette, I'm going to have to emulate an accent, so this seems to be the best medium to do it. Normally I write it, put it up on my blog on coloradospringsninjutsu.com, but this case I'm going to have to break it down into several chunks when talking about how people speak in Japanese. This has been brought on by a recent fad among many American and European martial artists of saying os. I have friends who are Japanese nationals and communicate on Facebook in English, and they have put up signs and notices saying, don't use os. When you write to me, don't say os. Don't respond to what I post by saying os or anything like that. But yet people are still doing it. There's even a guy who cannot communicate in Japanese, cannot read a Japanese newspaper, who has come out with a video saying that saying os is acceptable. He has found a book on Kyokushinkai and found the definition and said, look, it's fine, it's acceptable. Well, no, not really. The whole thing is kind of like that scene in Rush Hour where Chris Tucker walks up to another black man and says, "What's up, my nigga?" Jackie Chan sees this and later on goes up to another black man and says, "What's up, my nigga?" It does not end well. This illustrates a certain point, that in a very limited and narrow situation, time, place, people, etc., some things you can get away with. Outside of that, you risk getting the crap beat out of you. Ideally, the world would have books and such written by people that actually knew what they were talking about. Instead of just going for one example and then making books, it would be people who had, in this case, had spent like a decade in Japan, speaks the language fluently, and they would be able to tell what is the exception and what is the rule. Having lived in Japan for well over a decade, I think I should speak up on this matter. Now, again, os is one of those words that you should not use unless you're really damn sure of the situation. Now, Kyokushinkai and another art called Yoshinkan Aikido, yes, they do use it, but you've got to understand that these arts kind of take pride in being rough brawlers and such, and so as part of cultivating their images as goons, they use the term os. They really stress the fact that they are rough, tough, not politically correct, not polite, rather rude brawlers. So the guy that uses os with the sensei in Yoshinkan Aikido would never dream of using that in the office where he sells insurance. And I can assure you that if you went to almost any martial art, Shindo Muso-ryu, Jojutsu, Takeuchi-ryu, whatever, and as part of the interview of can I train or not, you use the term os, you probably should not waste too much time waiting for the callback saying that you've been accepted. There are times when you can use os, but if you're not 100% sure, don't use it. If you're in a Kyokushinkai class and someone's saying os and everyone's using os, well, join in. Otherwise, on Facebook, don't. This is not limited to this word or just words in general. I want to stress that Japanese, just like every other culture, has exceptions to the rules. What you see might not be what is acceptable. An example, one of the first comic books I ever bought in Japan was part of the series called Urusei Yatsura. First few panels, there's two Japanese high school students eating lunch, and one of them is passing a piece of tempura to the other using their chopsticks. Read almost any book on Japanese eating etiquette and they will tell you don't do that. But in the first few panels, without saying anything, the author brilliantly showed what kind of students these guys are, not the type that you would really want to bring home to mother. So that's how they establish it. If you see someone saying os in a movie or anything like that, yeah, you're basically looking at lowbrow, rude individuals, yakuza, whatever, day laborers. Unless you want to be like that, don't say it. Let me give you another example, putting it in a Japanese, in America situation. Let's say a Japanese comes to America, he's in Manhattan, he's walking down the street and there's some guy on the street corner harassing females. Yo, baby, got what you want, I got it right here. Yeah, you know it, you want me, yeah, you want it. Imagine the Japanese looks at that and says, oh, this is how Americans woo women. Let me try it. Okay, you try that in Colorado Springs where I live, every guy on the block is going to descend on you and beat the living hell out of you. There are times to say things and times not to say things. When I was in the military, my language basically could peel paint off a barn door. When I go down to the supermarket, no, not even to the clerks. I won't use those terms. If I'm a good friend, we've had a few beers and we're all stuff like that, all of a sudden the F-bombs come out. There's a time and place for everything. And just because you see someone doing something or say something, don't think that you can do it. I really want to stress this. There are times when people with a lot better understanding of the culture can get away with things that an outsider really should not try. Think about this. I mean, not only just examples of, trying to make people look rude through their terms. If you live in Los Angeles, London, Berlin, someday you're going to watch somebody walk down the street picking their nose. Is that acceptable? No. Are you going to see somebody do it sometime in your life? Yes. So yeah, same thing in Japan. Eating a chocolate bar while walking down the street is considered rude. You do not eat while walking. Are you going to see someone do it? Probably. Should you do it? No. It's not that simple. It's not that difficult to understand that yes, there are going to be examples, but it's harder in Japanese culture because they don't immediately take you to task. As I said, if you use os doing an interview, trying to get into a school, you probably won't get the phone call saying that you have been let in. That's just how they are. If you're working there and you do something like use a really bad word, which I will deal with next time, you might not get your contract renewed. You have to be careful. Err on the safe side. And really, it doesn't take much common sense to realize that there are Japanese speakers, native Japanese speakers on Facebook saying don't use os, and there's a guy who can't read a Japanese newspaper saying yes you can. Well, which should you listen to? So yeah, I'm not going to say that nobody uses os in Japan. I'm saying you should not use os. Unless you've spent 5 years in Japan, can speak fluent Japanese, and are able to tell the social situation, avoid using any word like os or any other habit that you are told by anybody that you should do. If 10 people say it's okay and 1 people say it's not, err on the side of caution.
तो मुझे आना पड़ा, और जिस तरह मैंने पिछली वीडियो बनाई है, अब जापानीज़ मास्टर की बारी आती है। तो मेरी बात की तहकीक करने के लिए या उसकी तस्दीक करने के लिए एक रिसर्चर दिखा दिया है। एक जापानीज़ मार्शल आर्टिस्ट की भी बात सुन लें, और इंशाल्लाह अनकरीब एक और रिसर्चर हैं अमेरिकन आर्मी के, उनको भी मैं आपके सामने पेश करूँगा। अभी फिर दोबारा मुझे गायब होना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि अगर मैं गायब हो जाऊँगा तो शायद मेरे दोस्त अहबाब, मेरे समझने वालों को बात समझ में आ जाएगी।
Did you guys know that only half of you use the word os in a karate dojo? Find out the backstory behind this magical word and alternative words that you can use in this video. A week ago, I asked this question on the YouTube community page, and the question was, how do you respond to your sensei? There were 4 choices: os, hai, yes in your local language, and others. And the result was os 50%, hai 22%, yes in your local language 19%, and other 4%. And seeing this data, it's not so far off from what we say in Japan as well. So what is os anyways? In Japanese, os is written with these 2 Japanese characters. The first one meaning to press, and the second one meaning to endure. So together with these 2 words means to press down your ego, emotion, and endure the hardships. However, there are numerous theories to why this word was born. Let me just introduce 2 of them. The first theory is the sumo theory. In sumo, when you get pressed by the opponent, when you're enduring that hard punches and pushes, we express that as a status of you being os. So you taking the hit. The second theory is the ohayo gozaimasu theory. The word ohayo gozaimasu in Japanese means good morning. And especially in the Navy, you have to be talking at a very strict manner. Therefore, they wouldn't say ohayo gozaimasu, they would say ohayo gozaimasu very strictly. And as this went a lot more extreme, they would say us like that. So the phrase shortened, and then became os. The similarities between these 2 theories are that they both descend from a Japanese language and not the Okinawan or the Ryukyu language. These are 2 different languages, the mainland Japan language and the Okinawan language. Yes, right now people in Okinawa speak Japanese, but there are still a lot of words that only make sense within that island. Therefore, os is not used in Okinawa. So some alternative words that people use in Japan are hai, wakarimashita, arigatou gozaimasu. These 3. Hai means yes in a very strict and, I guess, proper manner. So you're not going to be using hai to your friends. It's very formal word. And わかりました means I understand in a polite manner as well. And ありがとうございます means thank you in a very polite manner. So these three words would make sense in a situation where you would answer os. Some words, you can use can be yes in your local language. So anything around that line is all good. And what I found interesting was a lot of you in the English-speaking countries say yes, ma'am or yes, sir, which shows the concept of hi in a very good translation. So I heavily agree with that word. Well, as long as you have respect towards that person, it doesn't really matter what word to use. So I hope you guys found